You couldn't have asked for a better first season in the ACC for SMU. The Mustangs, we knew were going to be a solid team, had so much talent coming back, but playoff worthy? I don't know if many of us predicted that. The Mustangs went 11-3, nearly won the conference in their first year in it, and then naturally made the college football playoff before losing to Penn State. Now, expectations are very, very high again. They are once again loaded with talent, but can they get back to the college football playoff? That is the million-dollar question. We're going to break that down for you here in 1 second, but before we do that, let's look at what happened last year. SMU was an interesting team to me because I, like many, thought Preston Stone was going to go off, right? Had a solid season in 2023, thought he was going to be the guy in 2024, but it became very clear early on that he was not going to be the one to lead SMU to success in the conference. They opened the year up against Nevada as 27-point favorites and only beat the Wolfpack by 5, 29-24, so some offensive struggles there. Then later, they lost to BYU as an 11.5-point favorite at home. Only mustered 15 points in that game. So, Rhett Lashley said, I'm done. I'm switching to Kevin Jennings. And what did they do? They won 9 straight games. 9 straight games with Kevin Jennings. Phenomenal quarterback. Phenomenal decision by Lashley. Their only losses coming to Clemson in that stretch, coming to Clemson in the ACC Championship game by 3. And then, of course, to Penn State in the playoff. So you look at the offense. 7 starters are back by Kevin Jennings, who, again, was the difference maker for SMU last year. Completely changed the trajectory of the season because they do not go 11-3. They do not make the playoff if they keep Preston Stone under center for the entire season. This offense averaged over 36 points per game, over 430 yards per game, fairly balanced, 262 passing yards per game, 168 rushing yards per game. And now, as we mentioned, do bring back Kevin Jennings, who threw for over 3,200 yards and 23 touchdowns last year, and rushed for over 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. The only thing he's got to work on is his decision-making. Had 11 interceptions, had some really bad ones in the playoff loss to Penn State. A couple of them returned for touchdowns, so he's got to take better care of the ball, got to make better decisions down the field. The question is, who's going to help him do that? Yes, he has a loaded offensive line. And Rhett Lashley went out there, loaded up in the transfer portal on both sides of the ball. This offensive line, a projected 117 combined starts, many of them coming from power programs, so a lot of guys up front that have experience. But weapons-wise, what's he got? Rashard Smith is gone at running back. His top 2 pass catchers are also gone. Yes, they've got Derek McFall coming in at running back. TJ Harden transfers in from UCLA. I think that's an underrated pickup at running back. Jordan Hudson, Matthew Hibner, RJ Maryland all do return in the pass-catching core. All those players had at least 359 reception yards. And that's good. There's some experience there because SMU didn't really have a true wide receiver 1 last year. The top wide receiver only had 663 reception yards on the year. And all those 3 guys that we just mentioned had at least 359. So not a huge drastic difference or drop-off there. Pass-catching core could be better than people think. And again, you do have a veteran quarterback in Jennings who can make plays with his legs. I think going to do just fine. Defensively, they lose a lot. They lose 9 starters from last year after giving up just 22.1 points per game, only 326 yards per game, and one of the best rushing defenses in the country. Only gave up 100 rushing yards per game. That's it. They do have some talent coming back, though. Despite losing so many big-time playmakers, their second leading tackler on the team last year, Isaiah Wokobia, comes back after posting 100 tackles and 3 picks, by the way. He's back in the secondary, along with Ahmad Moses, who was 4th on the team in tackles and also had 3 interceptions. Pair all that with Deuce Harmon as well. The secondary looks to be pretty solid for the Mustangs. The defensive line adds a lot of key transfers up front. They do return Isaiah Smith, who had 6.5 sacks last year. They do return Cameron Robertson, who had 4 sacks last year. So some veterans up front that were generating consistent pressure on the quarterback. And the linebacking core looks to be good as well. They bring in second-team American Conference selections Zakie Barker from East Carolina, and their 6th leading tackler from last year, Alex Kilgore. Despite what people may be telling you about SMU losing so much, there's still some key pieces that do return. Lashley did a good job in the portal, especially in the trenches, and this Mustangs team I believe it can be just as good as they were last year. Take a look at the schedule, though. It's a little bit tougher. I mean, you just at first glance, Baylor's not easy. At TCU, so in the first 4 weeks, they're playing 2 power conference opponents in the non-conference. Baylor and TCU both out of the Big 12. And then in conference play, they have to go to Clemson. They have to play Miami. They have to play Louisville. So some very tough games on the slate where if SMU's not playing their A game, they could fall well short of expectations. I'll tell you right now, though, I think they start 3-0. I think they're going to beat East Texas A&M. I think they're going to beat Baylor, which we'll touch on. I think they're going to beat Missouri State on the road. Interesting. And Missouri State, a FBS program now, first year in the Conference USA. The Baylor game's the toughest of those three, as we know. This is their first meeting since 2016. This Baylor team is one that I think can be really, really good this year, a true contender in the Big 12. I love Sawyer Robertson at quarterback. I think Dave Aranda's got himself a pretty good defense as well. But the difference in this game is SMU's secondary, who I think can make some plays against Sawyer Robertson. Some Baylor pass catchers that are solid, but maybe not as good as they need to be. And home field advantage going to play a pretty big role here as well. I know it's an in-state game. I get it. Plenty of Baylor fans will be showing up and showing out. Baylor coming off a very physical game in Week 1 against Auburn, which could be either hung over from a high win or hung over from an upsetting loss at home. They now have to go to the road to SMU, who will be rocking for this game, giving the Mustangs to pull off the win over the Bears. They are 3-0. Then they go on the road to TCU. That's a big one. The 104th meeting for the Iron Skillet, and SMU won last year, 66-42. The 66 points were the most by any team ever in this series. 104 meetings, that was the most points by either team. But here's the thing. Great performance from SMU all the way around. Offensively was great. Defensively especially was great. They actually finished +4 in the turnover margin. I think won that battle 5-1. But listen to what SMU did last year. They had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, and a pick six. So 21 points, not even coming from the offense, coming from defense or special teams. That's not going to happen again. It was a fantastic performance, and they deserve all the praise. But that's not going to happen again. It's just not. I got TCU winning this game. Why? Because, again, I don't think they're going to be -4 in the turnover margin. I don't think you're going to see SMU pretty much score in every way possible. And I have a lot of faith in Josh Hoover. I think it's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. Nearly threw for 4,000 yards last year. He's got a lot of talent surrounding him. TCU's got 8 starters back on defense as well. One that only gave up 185 passing yards per game. So with some questions at running back, if they shut down Kevin Jennings, if they force some turnovers this time around, can SMU do anything on the ground? I'm going to say no. I think the secondary does their job. I don't think SMU can win it all by themselves on the ground, even with Kevin Jennings' mobility. TCU gets this win. Revenge after last year's beatdown. SMU 3-1. Now they head into conference play. They're going to win their first 2 in conference play, and I think fairly easily. Coming out of the bye week, back-to-back home games against Syracuse, who takes a major step back from last year's 10-win season. They just lose way too much, especially offensively. And then Stanford, who they destroyed last year, and once again will be one of the worst teams in the conference. So just like that, despite the loss to TCU in the bye week, I think coming at a perfect time to regroup after that loss. They go 2-0 in conference play. They're 5-1. Things are looking good. On the road now at Clemson in a rematch of last year's ACC championship game. Give the Mustangs a lot of credit for what they did last year. They get to the ACC title game, get down early, 31-14, battled all the way back, did not show any quit in that game, and then Clemson, 56-yarder field goal to win the game, 34-31. So SMU battled all the way back, gave Clemson everything they had, and just narrowly fell short in the ACC championship game. Still got to the playoff, though. But now you're going on the road to Clemson, which is a very difficult place to play. And I think this is a true national title contender. And I look at this game, and I think Clemson owns the edge everywhere in this game. They own the edge at quarterback with Cade Klubnik. They own the edge offensively as a whole. The line is solid. There's top 3 pass catchers return. Klubnik returns. I mean, they're loaded there. The defense has one of the best defensive lines in the nation, which, if SMU's offensive line doesn't pan out, could cause some issues there. The secondary looks really, really good. They've got home field advantage, which will be electric for this type of game. I just don't see a scenario where SMU can come on the road and stun the Tigers. I don't see it happening. Neutral site, maybe. At SMU, maybe. Not in Death Valley. Clemson gets this win. SMU 5-2. Takes their second loss of the season. Keep in mind, they only lost, one regular season game last year? Were they 11-1, then they lost to Clemson for 11-2, and then lost to Penn State. So now they've, exceeded last year's regular season loss total, and there's some tough games coming up on deck. So playoff hopes are starting to dwindle a little bit for the Mustangs, unless they can rally here. I do think they bounce back with a big win at Wake Forest, a team that I think is going to struggle this year, rebuilding year in year 1 under Jake Dickert. So they bounce back. That's a huge, huge win for them. Clemson's bowl eligibility, but also kind of gets them back on track following a tough loss to the Tigers. Then Miami. You look at the schedule, I think Miami and Louisville are the last 2 big games, tough games for SMU, and they get them both at home. So they need to find a way to win those, right? This Miami game's interesting. It's homecoming for SMU, so it'll be rocking. It'll be rocking anyways for a game as big as this one will be. Maybe a top 15, top 20 matchup against the Hurricanes. An interesting game for Rhett Lashley, too. He's the offensive coordinator at Miami from 2020 to 2021. My question is, can the offensive line of SMU hold up against this really good Miami defensive line? That's going to be the battle I'm watching. Can they protect Kevin Jennings? Can they make sure they give him time to make the right decisions? That's going to be the battle to watch here as well. The second battle you're watching is SMU secondary, which I have a lot of faith in. SMU secondary against this Miami passing attack led now by Carson Beck. So a lot of fun battles to watch here, but I'm going to pick SMU to win this game. I'm going to pick SMU. I actually might lean a little bit more towards Kevin Jennings when it comes to playing quarterback. Who has the quarterback edge here? I might lean towards SMU with that, as Carson Beck's got a great arm, got a strong arm, but can he stay healthy and can he make the right decisions in this tough road environment? I do think SMU's defense can hang with this offense. I do think their offensive line will hold up. I think the offensive line is only going to get stronger and better and build more chemistry as the year goes on. Miami's defensive line is really good. They're not as good as Clemson's. They're going to beat Miami. They are 7-2. They're going to cruise past Boston College. They're 8-2. They beat Boston College by 10 last year, by the way. And then they come out of their bye week for senior day against Louisville, who SMU beat on the road last year by 7. And that was the game that I think the nation was put on watch and realized, hey, SMU's the real deal. Like, they had destroyed TCU. Okay, that's one thing, but they struggled against Nevada. They struggled against BYU, who ended up being a very good team. But, you know, no one was really sold on SMU. Then when they beat Louisville on the road, which is not an easy place to win, especially under Jeff Brom, you realize, okay, this team might be legit. And they just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. Now they're off the bye week, as we mentioned. Now they're on senior day. Now Louisville's coming off a game against Clemson. This is, I think, a perfect spot for SMU, actually, because they're well rested. Louisville's either going to be riding a high off of a win against Clemson, at home, by the way. So you've got that emotional letdown, or they're going to get beat by Clemson, that emotional hangover from just being down on your luck after a loss, especially if it's close. I think SMU beats the Cardinals. I know Louisville's going to be out for revenge after losing at home last year, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I think these teams actually match up very well with each other, but I like Rhett Lashley's squad a lot more at home. And I do think their defense, as long as they can shut down the run game, as long as they can shut down Louisville's run game, I think will be just fine. I think that's exactly what happens. They win that game 9-2, and I do think they'll cruise past California, who they beat by 32 points last year. The Golden Bears, I have no faith in their roster right now. I think this is the last year for Justin Wilcox. Heck, by that point, Wilcox could be gone. Could be fired midseason. That's how bad I think California is going to be. They win that game. They're 10-2 with one conference loss coming on the road to Clemson, more than likely going to be good enough to get them into the ACC championship game, where you can't help it. I mean, obviously, if they win that, they go to the college football playoff. If they lose, they'll have to await their fate on Selection Sunday. But regardless, another successful season in a year where some might think SMU takes a bit of a step back, not massive, but a tiny one. I say no. Yes, they take a minor step back in the regular season, but they are still one of the best teams in the ACC. They still have very good quarterback play. They're still going to have very good play, I think, in the trenches. This is a team you should not sleep on, despite the more difficult schedule. Mustangs get another double-digit win season and will be in the hunt for the college football playoff by season's end. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on those. You do not want to miss out on our weekly newsletters either, also on thegridironexpert.com. Go sign up for those, become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.